I first met Luke Bartmann in the early 2000s when he was regional brand manager for Red Bull at J. Melnick & Co. Luke later transferred to Dubai where he continued working for Red Bull and then moved on to Carlsberg. In 2013 he started the African Brand Company, an expert sourcing business based in Cape Town. My name is Holger and this is DrinksWorld. Luke Bartmann, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Holger. It's great to be chatting to you again.
After so many years.
It's been too long.
You moved to Durban in about 2000 and what? 2005?
2005. That's correct, yeah.
And you were running the Melnick office with all the crazy Red Bull boys. It was so much fun, hey?
It was so much fun. And we had almost no oversight, which was quite dangerous for ourselves, actually.
What do you mean you had no oversight?
We were very, I don't know if you remember my friend Adrian.
Yeah.
Boy.
He's still with Red Bull.
No, he's with Twizzler now.
Okay.
I believe, yeah. Still in Durban. He's just recently moved back there. But Adrian and I both were hired within a month or so for that role in KZN to head up that region. And it was fantastic. We had a lot of free reign, which was really fantastic and allowed us to first of all have a lot of fun, but second of all we did quite well as a result of having that freedom. I think we were the top achieving region for a couple of those years that we were there.
It must have been the distributors that worked so hard.
It was definitely not the distributors. No offense. We might have sold some product into other areas as well, but I'll never officially admit that. But we got good volumes.
Yeah.
And it was a hell of a great time. I enjoyed my time in Durban thoroughly. Still got a lot of good mates up there.
Can you remind me who your musketeers were in your role?
Morrison.
Ed Morrison, yes.
Yeah. There was Justice in Dane.
Yeah.
There was Jared.
The jet skier.
Jared the jet skier and Trevon Pillay.
Uh-huh.
And then after that, we had Ntukozo, who's now got a great restaurant bar vibe in what is the main street there again in KZN and Durban? I've just forgot it.
Florida Road.
Florida Road, that's it, yeah.
Okay.
Got an outfit there, and then we had a few other guys. Scott Barton, actually, that's the other guy.
Yeah, and he's at Copperberg in the UK.
Yes, yeah, doing terribly.
Okay. And then I remember that, the whole J. Melnick things, I think they lost the agency and you had to all go and work for Red Bull.
So I think it was in 2008-9 that the agency was lost, and then Red Bull South Africa was set up, and some people went that way, and then other people stayed on the Melnick side.
Okay.
I moved back to Cape Town at that time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
To join Red Bull in Cape Town.
The cool office. That must have been a cool office.
Yeah, that was a very cool office. Durban office was also pretty cool. It was when the company did a transition, it was from almost a distribution company to the head office. So we had a lot of people leave, a lot of staff left. We had a guy come in from the UK and didn't really work. There were a lot of clashes and a lot of people left, didn't like the style, the new thing. I think it's changed, just generally people didn't like it. But so a lot of people left, but it was a great time. And then the company changed direction, and which was quite exciting to implement a lot of more global Red Bull strategy. And then that was it. Then I left in 2010 for Dubai.
You went to Dubai with Red Bull.
Yeah, with Red Bull.
Was it a transfer?
Yeah, I asked for a transfer.
Okay.
I was I wanted to go just do a little bit more traveling, and I felt like I'd hit a little bit of a ceiling in South Africa, and so I wanted to just go explore overseas a bit more, and so I went there, which was great. I mean, but Red Bull's offices in Dubai were like chalk and cheese. The South African one. Moving to Dubai, I realized it's run completely differently, and it was quite a culture shock between the two organizations. In fact, it was crazy. They'd actually hired someone for the role that they'd promised me. So it was that's the type of culture shock I'm talking about. So that's what happened.
And Dubai, what was that like?
Dubai was amazing as a place. I always describe Dubai as it's wonderful for a short time, in a certain time of your life, and it's got fantastic things about it. You get to earn well. You can travel in the region pretty well. There's lots of deals around for holidays and things like that. For career progression, it's also excellent. Dubai is a regional hub, so you're moving into roles. You suddenly move into regional roles, which is fantastic. And it's a global business center, so the pace is fast. It's like it's almost like a Wild West in a lot of ways. Overall good place. But there's as a South African, we love nature and outdoors and things like that. You have a fairly limited offering over there. You've got the sea, which is wonderful, beaches, but that's only for half the year that you can really use them. And then the mountains are not really that great. I think if you're a petrol head and you like your cars and your bikes, then that's also it's a rad place because a lot of activity around in the desert with that type of thing. Yeah.
Or was it time for leisure?
Yeah, there was. After when I arrived at Red Bull and realized that this had just happened to me, I very quickly started looking around for other work, and just realized it wasn't going to be the same as what I'd experienced. Yeah. The positive stuff I'd experienced previously. So I made some plans to leave, and I joined the Carlsberg group, which was fantastic. We were a satellite office reporting into Copenhagen, and I'd been hired to to change the layout of the Middle East distribution strategy. And we were planning at the time to build a brewery in Saudi Arabia, and we needed to get volumes up before the brewery was being built.
Was it all non-alcoholic?
So it's about 70 to 80% of the business in the Middle East was, excluding Saudi, was non-alcoholic. Yeah. So there's a small, you have a small alcoholic business in UAE and Bahrain, Qatar. But all non-alcoholic. And we had two great brands there, which were market leaders in Saudi, but not in the rest of the region. So the idea was to bring the rest of the region up to speed and get proper distributors and implement basic marketing plans and things like that. So and that's what I did when I was there, which was incredibly encouraging and good and fun. There was about 22 different distributors that I got to oversee, which was nice across the region. Yeah, and I just changed the landscape. I went out and found the best people that I could, best distributors. I could find in every country, and implemented some good stuff with them. We changed our marketing approach, to push a little bit more of the functional angle of the brand versus like a more of an emotional connection, where the brand was more established in Saudi. And it was just finding good distributors and making sure relationships with them were good, and just growing the business aggressively. And that's what I did.
And these distributors, are they all owned by some wealthy royal family member?
No,
Doesn't it work like that?
sometimes it does. There's influences like that, but often, there's a lot of what happens in the Middle East is you have businesses that have maybe they started out in construction, but now they've got a food division because they've got the net. That's how it happens.
Okay.
So big companies with lots of different trading arms. But it's the same rule of thumb. You get as a normal business, you just find the right people to work with, and the capability, and then things kind of click into place.
And the trade?
Trade was incredibly cutthroat.
But was it formal, or is it one?
It's mostly in the Middle East. It depends where you are.
Okay.
Per region, the GCC states are more formal market, or say formal trade. When you start to get into North Africa, there's a lot of wholesaler trade, that's it. Iraq as well, maybe more wholesaler driven. So yeah.
And what would be the biggest difference to running a business here? A similar business, I guess.
From a distributor's point of view?
No, from your job point of view.
Fundamentally, it's the same. It's relationships, people, making sure your brand and your offering matches what the market needs.
Okay.
There's nothing fundamentally different. It's a lot more aggressive, a lot more competitive. Middle East has got a long history, should I say, of trading with Europe. They've got big buying power, so they know their stuff. They also, as a new developing region, it's very attractive for a lot of European companies and first world countries to sell into the Middle East. So the competitiveness is incredibly hard. People will be trying all the time. I mean, in the energy drink segment, one buyer for one of the local, I think it was Carrefour, one of the retail chains there, told me that they were getting almost, I think it was every couple of days, they would have a new energy drink proposal on their door at that time.
Yeah.
So, what the nature of the trade is that you pay up front for your listings before you've even spent a cent elsewhere. You've got to pay, and a listing fee. If you look at, if you look a few years back, you're looking at a SKU per SKU was probably around about. This is Dubai only. You probably look at around 250,000 rand, just to get your listings right in the full trade. So it's a per SKU. It's a big investment.
Yeah, massive. Sure.
Yeah.
And Carlsberg must have been the most fun, or your job at Carlsberg must have been the most fun you ever had. Beer is much better than anything else.
I tell you, it was definitely, my colleagues were phenomenal as well at Carlsberg. And, working for a beer company, it just sounds perfect, and it was. What was great was that at the time, my boss, he kind of oversaw the alcohol side of the business. Well, he did oversee the alcohol side of the business. I was left with the non-alcoholic side. But he was a great mentor to me, and really just helped transform my way of thinking. When you come from a South African perspective into international perspective, you realize sometimes there is a skills gap. We are, as South Africans, very competitive in some things, and we work hard and we know stuff. But when you start to get out into the big world, you realize, hold on, you must learn.
Yeah.
And so specifically from a commercial standpoint, he almost crash coursed me over those couple of years. Call it almost like a mini MBA type of thing, which was wonderful because he was a phenomenal. Commercially, he was astute, and he had such a good overall understanding of the business. So that was wonderful. subsequently, he actually, or I say was, he passed away quite sadly just after I left the company. But yeah, anyway, so it all makes sense. It all makes it worthwhile when you've got good people you're working with.
Why on earth would you leave Carlsberg?
I was it's a very good question. I have a lot more money now if I stayed, I reckon. No, but at the time I was hankering to do something new, quite entrepreneurial, and I wanted to do something on my own. And I'd been waiting for a while to I really want. Even in Durban, I was thinking, what can I do? But I never had the competency yet or the confidence to do it on my own, But after my crash course in Carlsberg, I had the network, I had everything that I needed. I was astute enough to start it, and so I thought, now's as good a time as any. But fundamentally, it was also just a little bit of a disillusionment with corporate culture as well. I mean, Carlsberg were phenomenal to me. When you look at a few layers up, and when after a few years, you can end up in a place in a corporate role where you're getting bounced around the globe. You may be not settled, and you've hit a ceiling, and that's you just move around and around. And to move further after that, then you start to sacrifice things like health, family. You have to. And I was just under the, I really wanted to move back to South Africa at some point. And family is very important to me. And lifestyle here in South Africa, I'm passionate about the country. So I wanted to get back here, and I thought this was my opportunity to start a business with South African products moving to the Gulf. Yeah, so the business was great. It's well, in the sense that it's South African brands at that time had a wonderful opportunity in the Gulf. It was still a little bit. It was less loose it was less tight than it is today, and our cost of manufacturing was actually cheaper back then. My original idea was to start a juice brand because I noticed the juice category was something to target, obviously with my insights from Carlsberg and my beverage information, Wilson data. So there was a hell of a nice opportunity. So I started working on that as my first project. But, you look at nowadays, it's a lot more tricky. Cost of living in South Africa is, it's gone up significantly. So you're finding now the price of our goods over there in market are pretty much the same as what European goods are. There's not really that cost benefit that you can trade with anymore, which makes it quite difficult to trade from South Africa. So that's just my experience of where we at the moment.
Okay. And that was the African brand company, or is the African brand company?
Is African brand company, yeah. So the business started off with the vision of the juice, launching the juice, which did launch in Saudi actually in 2018 eventually. It was 2017. But I think I made a mistake with the type of partner that we had there because we sold in a few containers and then it fizzled out.
Okay.
So what happened? We moved back in 2016. We built a nice little business up in Dubai, in the Middle East. Moved back here, and the business kind of over the last couple of years pivoted to, I think maybe it was the difficulties that I was facing with local suppliers that, not necessarily being as competitive as we need them to be on that side. And also South Africans, to our own detriment, we fight a little bit too much amongst each other, or it's a bit too. They don't always see the value in what it takes to actually launch brands. Becomes very much like, I can try to do this myself, or whatever, and generally they fail.
Yeah.
So, so after a while of pushing other people's brands, I wasn't getting as much traction as I liked. I had some successes in that, but if not everyone's invested in the process, was taking risks, should I say, in the process, then it doesn't. Anyway, things can not work. So I pivoted over time to the epiphany for me was when I was like, oh my goodness, when I got the relationships, let me just ask them what they want. So instead of here's my little portfolio of South African stuff, I'm going to try to push it everywhere and whatever. So that's what changed in my business. So I pivoted to more of a sourcing offering. So people that were interested or wanted to deal with me personally or wanted to source from South Africa and wanted someone who's expert in the landscape, then that's our offering.
Okay.
And yeah, that's good. That's been a fundamental and good change. Kind of didn't know why it took me so long to realize that. Sometimes I'm going back through old leads and that I see guys asking for stuff and I kick myself. I'm like, oh man, I was just saying no, because I was trying to focus on other people's stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's life. And so that's what we do now. So, and that's how I ended up more in the wine and spirit space, actually, was what was in demand from South Africa. So,
and are they looking for brands or do you create brands for them?
Both.
Okay.
Guys, what they're looking for is because remember, a brand is one element, but South Africans, again, often we think we've become big brands anyway, become a big fish in a small pond, and then realize that there's a lot of other bigger brands out there. So it's not about having you got to have a basic level of brand and price and competitiveness and a match to the market. But what I look for people, and people that we can work with. In exports and logistics, it's such a nightmare at the moment, just illustrating it. But, there are going to be issues, guaranteed. So many moving parts all the time. There's going to be compromises that need to be made on both sides. And you need to be able to work with people that are willing to work with you and overcome these obstacles, not just people who are looking at their own interests. So that's what I look at. So you're going to have a minimum, just to recap, just a minimum threshold of, competitiveness, and then it's about the people and relationships.
Give us an example of a customer, typical, or your best customer.
My clients vary. We'd work with the equivalent of a Woolworths in one market. Another market, we'd work with a specialty importer of wines, maybe as an example. It varies fundamentally. And now, the clients that I'm starting to engage with more, the business is going a little bit more larger, or is getting larger, so larger type of client. The more the clients that are, mainstream offerings, put it that way. Yeah.
And does it become a commodity trade?
It's close to commodity. It's still brands or private labels that guys are looking for. There's a lot of pressure on pricing at the moment, so I think there's going to be a big move to private label. But it becomes tougher, and that also just limits the number of South African companies that you can work with, unfortunately.
Because it's price driven.
Price driven, and price and overall quality. I mean, I don't want to moan too much, but you look at trying to get stuff out of our ports at the moment is a disaster. I've got clients in Africa. We're struggling to get a booking to get something out to them. It takes 4 to 6 weeks for it to get there. And it's a nightmare just to get availability on a ship. No one can confirm it. People are passing by. Obviously last year's drama and this year's drama in the ports, like they're deteriorating so much that it's really, really hard. Whereas you compete with a weekly sailing out of anywhere in Europe, So suddenly the client on his side now needs to, build that into the equation, and just makes us more uncompetitive, So there's a few factors around it, but so it's logistics in that are hard. The cost of manufacturing is going up, prices are going up here. It's hard. Yeah.
So I mean,
don't get me wrong. I'm not saying there's no opportunity. This is my business, and this is why I do what I do. There's still opportunity, and there's a lot of value in supporting South African companies, not just from a commercially we can be quite clever on how we do stuff, but the social impact of of supporting South African manufacturing is very important to me, and is a large part of the reason why I do what I do. So actually the biggest part. So
you said earlier when we spoke about Red Bull that you sold a lot of Red Bull, or possibly sold a lot of Red Bull into other markets. Is that, those sort of brands like Red Bull and Heineken, people are constantly get people asking for Heineken or those big brands. Is that that would then be great?
Parallel stock. Yeah.
Parallel stock.
So I would just to clarify, if I did sell Red Bull at that time, it wasn't to another country. It was within South Africa.
Within South Africa, okay.
If I had done it.
If you had done it, yeah.
Exactly.
And I remember Macro also not exporting any Red Bull.
Yes. Anyway, that's funny. Parallel goods are, there's a market for guys that do it, and it's generally traders. I don't. You have to be. I've never done it. That's the short answer. It's just it is grey. It's like a grey area.
It's not what your business is about. Okay.
It's not what my business is about at all, and it's a little bit frowned upon. Like if you want to develop relationships with brands, you can't be, trading outside of the established structures that they have, unless they're saying fine. But even then, it's just I don't. But my value is not so much in the logistics and that specific trade. It's about matching the actual business deal on a long-term basis. Short-term trades are not really what I'm interested in doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So give us an example of a product that works.
That works abroad. Sure. There's I work with a lot of guys, so I don't want to name one, and then another one is going to be upset. But there's there's some industries which we are quite competitive on abroad, and there are some nice opportunities. Wine has got a phenomenal potential abroad.
Really?
I don't know why we don't do better. We do a poor job, I think, of not poor. There's not enough resources behind it. That's the short answer. You can have, like Australia will build big co-ops and market and put a lot of money behind one brand, and then everyone supplies that co-op. South Africa, we don't have that mentality necessarily to work together to do that.
Yeah.
So we're quite fragmented, and while that has positive offspins for other aspects, like having beautiful wine farms with restaurants and things like that, the guys have to do that, to keep money coming in. That's a lovely benefit, and it becomes more boutique, and that's also nice. It just doesn't mean we get big volumes, but I don't know. That's a debate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you think we can help, or the listeners?
So it's more about what I'm always looking for is new clients. Most importantly, networks, people abroad that are interested in sourcing from
South Africa. Okay.
Yeah. specifically. The offering is almost a turnkey solution. So, so for anybody wanting to do it, there must be a certain purchasing power behind it. So not necessarily for mom and pop type things. There must be a capability and over there. So that's always one thing I'm interested in. On the other side of things, I'm always interested to meet new suppliers from South Africa. I can't always give them what they're looking for abroad, but I can generally have a short conversation with them and give them some advice on where best to focus their efforts and how best to do that. So I'm more than happy to do that. And with the disclaimer that I don't know everything. I've got a very limited understanding of what's going on out there. Things are changing all the time, but I can always speak to my own personal experience and how I've experienced things.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And from what countries? Well, what countries have you worked
interested
with?
Yeah, I worked with. Lots. That's the short answer.
Africa, Middle East.
All of the Middle East and North Africa. I've done. Not North Africa. Yeah, North Africa did business. Then I traded into West Africa a bit. I mean, I've done. Yeah, I won't say most countries in Africa because there's a lot, but all the big ones. The Kenyas, Tanzanias, Mozambique's, Angola, and in Southern Africa and surrounds. And in the Far East, I've done some business in Japan and China, South Korea, Thailand, Australia. I never really did anything in Australia. States and Canada, done some stuff, and South America a little bit. I'm just exploring some stuff there at the moment, actually. Have I missed anywhere? No. Yeah.
And it must be going okay if you've been doing it for 8 years.
Yeah, the business pivoted a few times. But I think as long as you client-centric and you got to keep going. It is very difficult out there at the moment. It's hell of a difficult. I won't lie. There's always as long as you have good people good clients that support you, and then you're okay. I think the key thing that I always tell people to look out for is the relationships out there. I alluded to it, I said it earlier, but it's all about people. It's all about network. It's all about it's hard work. It's about being flexible. And as South Africans, we used to being flexible a little bit, understanding market challenges. But I think that the key is always just to be humble, find someone that's willing to support your brand, and just grow with them slowly. It's a lot of work in getting it ready, but that has to get done. When it comes to getting export ready or getting ready for a market that might not make it feasible for you. So then that's something to analyze. I think a focused approach is another thing. Not trying to scatter too quickly everywhere. Be very selective about where you're going to go. Focus on where your relationships are, and just don't give up. That's the thing. Just keep going.
Well, thanks for those tips.
Yeah. Thank you.
And where can people reach you? I'm sure you've got a website. AfricanBrandCompany.com. Okay.
Contact me through that. It's been great chatting to you again.
Yeah, nice catching up, Luke. I hope that we can help you. I guess it just needs one spark, and there's a relationship, and then it can work.
That's exactly how I've picked up clients in the past.
Thank you for listening to our stories here online. In the show notes, you will also find a link where you can subscribe to become part of our community and be notified when we upload our latest content.